Hi there. I'm so glad you could join me for our program today. You know, if you're new to all of this outdoorsy stuff, it's a-okay. You and your child belong in nature. Our inner wild child is bursting to get out there and play. We all have the ability to connect to nature and to pass on those magical moments that spark a lifelong joy of wilderness. My name is Sarah Jean. My pronouns are she, her, and I have a bachelor's in early childhood development. And I grew up absolutely in love with all things nature, and I'm talking barefoot in the mud kind of love. But that love didn't just spring up out of nowhere. I had key experiences and people who really cultivated my curiosity for our natural world. This is about a 10-minute pre-recorded program, so you're welcome to pause, rewind, or rewatch whenever you need to. A transcript is available in the description for download, and you can also turn the subtitles on or off depending on your preferences and needs. Even though this is a video, you actually don't need to watch the screen in order to fully benefit from our program today. So feel free to do some chores, get some laundry done, save this video for your commute to work, or even just rest your eyes. I think we've all had enough screens for a little while. Now, before we dive into our topic today, I want to take a second and talk about what we mean when we say the word nature. I wonder what comes to mind for you. Maybe you think about our national parks or nature trails or, remote campgrounds or something like that. And you'd be absolutely right, of course, those are natural spaces. But, and I think you probably know what I'm gonna say, it's more than that. Welcome to my porch. Behind me, you see a large grassy area with some pine trees in between apartment buildings. This is an area that I have access to all of the time, no matter the time of year or the weather. If you can look up and see the sky, if you can feel the breeze, if you can hear birds chirping or watch a squirrel scurry across a fence, to me, in my book, that counts as a green space. Thinking about nature in this way, I wonder if you can remember a time from your childhood when you felt deeply connected to nature. What were you doing during that experience? Who were you with? What was expected of you? I'm going to take a wild guess and say that that experience probably wasn't a part of your formal learning, probably wasn't a school project or something that someone was telling you that you had to do. I bet at the very heart of it, what you were doing was playing. And I bet that you had someone that you really cared about who was encouraging you to do that and sharing that experience with you. I'd really love to hear all of your memories, so pop a quick comment in the chat and let me know what you're thinking about. Just a quick phrase, like fishing with dad or gardening with grandma. Now, research is still developing, but it is generally agreed that there is a positive correlation between childhood experiences in nature and adult pro-environmental behavior. Not only is this great news for our planet, but this is also wonderful news for us and our health. It's been established that outdoor activities have all sorts of benefits for children, from physical activity to mental well-being. Time outdoors can boost creativity, it can improve our attention levels, it can help with concentration, and it can give you a sense of belonging and cooperation with other children and other people. The current trend of decreased time outside is correlated to a sedentary lifestyle as adults, and it may even lead to what Richard Love coins nature deficit disorder. Now, nature deficit disorder is not an actual diagnosis, but it's the argument that a lack of access to green spaces leads to challenging behaviors in children. I think any of us who were stuck inside with little to no access to green spaces during the COVID-19 pandemic can definitely attest that there's some truth there. Anyone else start watching live streams from zoos? Yeah, me too. Thankfully, I grew up in the 90s when in-home tech really hadn't taken off yet, and so I spent a lot of my childhood outdoors. My family took a trip to the Florida Panhandle to see the Florida caverns when I was about 6 or 7 years old. When we went inside the caves, the air was cool. It was much cooler than the sun-heated air outside. And there were these lights that the parks had set up that illuminated the stalactites and cast these really brilliant shadows. And there were even bats hanging over our heads. It was really spooky, but it was also stunning. During our tour, the park ranger turned off the lights and it was pitch black, and I immediately started crying. I was terrified of the dark, and I was 7 years old, and I couldn't see my hand right in front of my nose. I will never forget the absolute wonder of that place. I may have been scared, but that was a true adventure for me, and I was proud of it. Especially if you're not quite comfortable with all the outdoorsy scene yet, I encourage you to take some time and think about what you and your child are already interested in, and create experiences that are tailored around that interest. So maybe your kid is super into dinosaurs. That's a pretty popular one. A great way to introduce them into outdoor spaces is to explore some fossil hunting or geology. Or you could even do something really simple, like get some loose parts, things like twigs, acorns, pine needles, anything else that you might just find laying on the ground. Take some loose parts and create a shelter out of these natural materials for their favorite T-Rex toy. And remember, this isn't a homework assignment. You don't need to have an advanced knowledge of botany to enjoy the plants that grow in your local city park. As a caregiver, your job is to make sure that they know all of the plants and animals around your area, including their taxonomy, and make sure that your kids grow up to be world-renowned climate activists. That's all. No, of course not. Come on. That sounds ridiculous, right? Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. Your role is to just get out there and have fun. The rest will come, for lack of a better word, naturally. Children learn through play, and nature play is just that. It's play. Just follow what makes you and your child curious. If you're still not sure where to start with your senses. Remember when we were talking about what we consider to be nature? We were listing things that you could notice with your senses, things you could observe. I invite you to pack a picnic lunch if you want and find a local green space near your home. As an example, I'm going to use our sense of hearing. Take a moment and listen to these field recordings that I took at a local nature trail, and try and pick out what you can hear. I hear several different kinds of birds and insects, and the creek running over tree roots. Imagine what you can explore if you were experiencing those sounds in real life. You could follow the sounds of the birds, see how many birds are there, and maybe even find out what species they are. Or follow the sound of the creek and find out where is it the loudest and why. Just from listening, you're well on your way to an exciting expedition. And this is just one example of something that you can do with your child today, right where you are. And you can do this activity with any of your senses, but please use caution when using your sense of touch and taste. Speaking of caution, risk-taking is an important part of nature play. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Risk-taking is a part of healthy development, and it's entirely appropriate for nature play. That being said, there are some precautions to take while playing outdoors. Be sure to consider proper sun protection, water, having first aid handy, and using bug spray. As we wrap up our program today, I want to introduce you to the One Day Wild Challenge. It's really simple. I challenge you to think of one outdoor activity that you can do with your child. Share your play with us using the One Day Wild hashtag. That's one spelled out, O-N-E, Day Wild. Every post shared has the opportunity to be reposted on our social media or shared on our email list. And every post gets entered into a weekly giveaway where you have the opportunity to win 50% off of our playgroups or a free One Day Wild activity guide. Be sure to tag us in your post so your entry doesn't get lost. Our handle is Florida Forest School, that's FL Forest School. To stay up to date on the One Day Wild Challenge and prizes, and to get ideas for awesome outdoor activities that you can do with your family, be sure to sign up for our email list. The link for that is in the description. We all have the ability to connect to nature and to pass on those magical moments that spark a lifelong joy of wilderness. Our inner wild child is bursting to get out and play. I'd like to leave you with one last thought. You have the opportunity to change your child's relationship with nature for the rest of their lives. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I cannot wait to see what play you have to share with us. Bye now.